Introducing the African Diaspora News Channel app, your gateway to stories that's overlooked by the corporate mainstream media.
And we serve as the voice to the Truba Black community.
Again, we got Dr. Candace Matthews.
A lot of these documents, looking at.
We are committed to informing and educating through the power of media.
This country is supposed to be about the land of the free for all. It has not been free for Black people, and we are tired.
With our platform, we're helping to end injustice by exposing it.
Join us in standing for excellence in journalism and serving our community. Download the African Diaspora News app today.
South Africans, please gather around. We need to talk. We need to talk because South Africa just came from an election. And this was one of those elections that was touted to make or break the country. It has been nearly 30 years of ANC dominance, and it was high time that South Africa made different decisions for reasons that we'll explore later on in the video, one of them being failing infrastructure, constant blackouts, an economy that is not doing well, highest unemployment rates in the world, highest inequality, high crime, but guess what? They still voted in their numbers over 40% for the party that's responsible for the country's current state. But it gets worse than that. It gets worse because tell me why DA got votes and the number of votes that they did. Tell me why DA got more votes than EFF's Julius Malema. Tell me why Umkhonto Wesizwe by former President Jacob Zuma, who's been convicted of corruption, was the second best in these elections. South Africans, hi, we need to talk. We really need to talk.
You're surprised that South Africans voted a white guy? Where have you been? Have you ever interacted with a South African? Like, these are the same people who are the vast majority, where the small minority of white people own almost everything in the country. And yet these same people somehow think Zimbabweans and Nigerians are the reason for their poverty, not the white people that own everything. And you somehow thought these people would have voted a Pan-Africanist? What is wrong with y'all? You have to start being realistic, man. You have to start being realistic. Pan-Africanism, if it's ever going to happen, it's going to be between North Africa, West Africa, Central Africa, and a few sprinkled countries in Eastern Africa. Black Pan-Africanism is going to be West, Central, and a few East African countries. Like the Somalis, no. Like at this point, you should already know as an African, you should know the countries that got your back. As a black African, if you want to talk Pan-Africanism, you should not have that conversation with a Kenyan. You should not have that conversation with a Somali. You should not have that conversation with a Sudanese. You should not have that conversation with an Eritrean. You should not have that conversation with a South African. At this point, if you don't know these things, why are you African? Like, there's an active movement in South Africa right now by white people to establish their own country called Western Cape. These people have gone on TV. They've said they want it to be like an Israel for Europeans in Africa. And you're shocked that the black people heard that and said, let's vote the guy most likely to make that possible. You're shocked? If you are, then you really need to start paying attention to South Africa. South Africans do not like anything that's black. It doesn't, not for all, obviously, before y'all start coming for me. Not all, clearly. You'll find a few Pan-Africanist South Africans. Julius Malema exists. His following is proof of that. But as a majority, South Africans, the same people that believe that if today all black immigrants get up and leave their country, their lives is significantly going to become better. Those people, you expected them to become pro-Africa. You expected them to become Pan-Africanists and vote Julius Malema.
Hello there, how are you doing? Welcome to another episode of our conversation. My name is Ondiro Oganga. I'm a business journalist by profession and a digital content creator. I love coming on here, having conversations with you guys about Black people, Africans, our empowerment, and how we can rise up and take our rightful place at the global stage. Connect with me on social media at Ondiro Oganga. Let's get into today's story, which is the South African election. I think if you watch my videos, you know that I really like laying context in the video before we come home to the point we're trying to make. And let's just do that. South Africa has been free of apartheid for a couple of decades now, and the ruling party, African National Congress, has been in power for nearly 3 decades. Now, don't get it twisted. South Africa is one of the most developed economies in the African continent, right? It's a rich country with so much resources, and that justifies where it is in terms of growth and its competitive edge on the African continent. That does not negate the fact that some things are not going well. I think 2 things can coexist in the same space. And also, when I say it's doing well in Africa, it's like comparing good, not even good, it's like comparing bad and worse. It doesn't mean that it's good, because many African countries that we are comparing them to need to have done better. I think the bar is really low in terms of countries that are doing well in Africa. That having been established, I have been to South Africa several times, and I think that it would be unfair not to mention that I've been privileged in the times that I've visited. And Sandton is one of the richest square miles in Africa. The amount of wealth I have seen just in Sandton, I haven't seen in another part of the African continent. That should tell you the kind of potential that this African country has. They're strategically located. They have ocean access. They have great education system. They had great infrastructure. They had great market perception. So what is actually happening? South Africa is one of those countries that is grappling with the highest unemployment rate, not just in the African continent, but in the world. People are going to school, people are graduating high school, people are going to university, and this is such a privilege, because right now, with the influx of TikTok and influencers, it's so hard to get kids to go to school. That's a fact. It's everywhere. To get kids to do well in STEM, in sciences, technology, mathematics, it's so hard. Yet you have African youth, some of them being in South Africa, doing exemplary well, going to university, getting valuable degrees, being astute citizens that want to contribute to the economy. And guess what? There are no jobs. And all this blame falls on the government, because they're not creating a conducive environment for the private sector to be able to come in, build businesses, thrive, so that there can be jobs in this economy. That is one. There's really high inequality in South Africa. Remember when I told you that I've never seen that amount of wealth that I saw in Sandton? The other side of it is that there's also so much poverty. And the danger of having resources is if they're not equitably used, if they're not justly used, then these resources remain segregated within particular communities, within certain groups of people. And we all know how wealthy people are very elitist and classist, and they guard their wealth aggressively and selfishly. And that's exactly what's happening in South Africa. Wealth is concentrated in a particular group of people, a very small majority, not even 1%, that goes to do with land. And land is everything. Land is everything, particularly on the African continent. You cannot produce, and you do not have collateral when you're looking for financing. Also the mines. I mean, you know which billionaire out there that owns a particular social media site and also mobility company. We know how what financing he used to give himself a leg up. And that should tell you where the resources, the diamonds, the coal mines, where they are heavily concentrated in which communities. That is to do with the inequality. Then there's legacy infrastructure issues. Please tell me why a country like South Africa in 2024 is grappling with blackouts. I will wait. What is the excuse as to why South Africans in 2024 live in darkness? And they've seen it all. They've seen 2 hours of darkness. They've seen 3 hours of darkness. They've seen 4 hours of darkness. They've seen 8 hours of darkness. They've seen 12 hours of blackout. Sorry, these are just issues that work me up so hard. And you listen to the government speak and they say, we're so happy that since March, we haven't had blackout in the country. 2024? Listen, I live in Rwanda, man. We don't know what blackouts are. So my husband is Ghanaian and I lived in Ghana for a while. Ghana, South Africa, in terms of blackout, same WhatsApp group. And Kenya has now joined them in that group of incompetence, yeah? Here, when lights go off, it's a minute. And even a minute is long. It goes off and comes back on. If it goes off for an hour, if you walk out, you see the electricians up on the pole fixing it. And the moment they're done fixing it, light is back. There's a level of incompetence that we've allowed on the African continent that stinks. It stinks, and it says a lot about us as a people. And I just want to bring it back to the point. What does it say about us as a people? What does this say about South Africans? Jacob Zuma was indicted of fraud and corruption charges. He stole money from the administration, from the government, money that they tax you. You're unemployed, yet you still pay taxes in every other thing. They taxed you to develop the country. Jacob Zuma, in his wisdom, stole that money. These are not my words. The court found him guilty. He's not done prison time. He was pardoned in some way. And you vote for him? It's selective outrage. Where's the outrage? ANC is the party that has steered the country into the dysfunction that it finds itself in right now, yet you still voted for them? Make it make sense to me. And then that brings me to DA. How did they get votes? How did they get black votes? Why did they get black votes? Apartheid was not long ago. No, you don't have dementia. You're too young to have dementia. Apartheid was not long ago. Why did they get votes? Why is it that when things are going the other way in South Africa, we're calling on Julius Malema to fight for us? Then when he says, put me in a position where I can actually make policy and legislation, you don't want to vote for him. South Africans, why? Why? It was just on the news right before the elections of the establishment of the Western Cape, that little segregated country in your country. It's not long ago. Why? All the South Africans in the comment section, please comment down below why the elections looked the way they looked, because it's really disappointing and it's heartbreaking. This election was supposed to be a litmus test for the rest of Africa to show leaders that incompetence is not rewarded with more terms. Incompetence is rewarded with goodbye. Let's put somebody else into power who's willing to drive the Africa agenda forward. This was supposed to be a litmus test. And even though the majority of the ANC has reduced by 10%, it's not good enough. Africa is in a state of emergency, and that's how we should approach everything. And this lackluster posture that we've adopted in addressing issues is going to hurt us. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Ondiro Oganga. I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.